I'm Mary Biemi. The local MSP for Glasgow Clyde College is Humza Yousaf. He's also the Cabinet Secretary for Justice. He joins my colleagues Amy Duffy and Billy McFadden in conversation.
Humza, thanks so much for coming to talk to us today. Tell me, with this current political climate, following the recent success of the rally in the weekend there, would you say that this is going to be the easiest fought general election for the SNP in recent times?
All right, that's a great question. A great rally, absolutely right, in George Square. No election is easily won. Honestly, I've been chapping doors, pounding pavements, doing election campaigns, pretty miserable weather like today for many, many years, and there's no shortcut to win an election. You have to actually speak to as many people as you possibly can. Do I think the circumstances are in our favour? For sure. I think people that even don't necessarily usually vote SNP will at least admit one thing. The SNP stands up for Scotland. We bang Scotland's drum, but as in Westminster or anywhere else, with our MEPs in Europe, we will always stand up for Scotland's interest. So I think even people that don't necessarily usually vote SNP will say, you know what, in all this Brexit debacle and all this mess, I actually want the strongest party that represents Scotland in there. So I think it'll be hard fought, but I expect us to do very well out of it.
So you stop short of saying that it's been handed to you on a plate?
No election is, honestly, I've been there before when we thought we were going to do really exceptionally well. I remember the council elections before the last ones, and I thought, yeah, we've got this. People have had enough of Labour and tired, and our campaign just wasn't the best, and we didn't win, and we didn't come through. So no, I'm long enough in the tooth to know that no election is just handed to you on a plate.
You mentioned the whole Brexit mess that's going on, and obviously a lot of that is to do with MPs in the Commons, but to what extent do you think their behaviour out with the Commons has kind of affected everything that's going on?
I think politicians have a real responsibility in how they behave, and we all get passionate. It's a good thing, it's not a bad thing. But we've just seen, in recent years, a referendum campaign when an MP was killed. And when that MP's memory was mentioned to the Prime Minister, he kind of almost laughed it off or dismissed it in recent Commons exchanges. So we've got a real responsibility, and that doesn't mean we can't have joke or we can't have good banter in the city of where banter was invented. We're in a great place in Glasgow. But that doesn't mean that we should cross the line. We're all guilty of it. I think every politician will hold their hands up and say, maybe I shouldn't have tweeted that or said that, whatever. But there's a real responsibility now not to inflame tensions, particularly in this really heated 6-week election campaign, where I think temperatures will be quite high. Really, really important we don't inflame tensions.
And also there was a recent scandal with the Lord Provost, and I'm sure you know all about that. What do you think? Do you think there are any measures or anything that you would like to put in place to stop something like that from happening again?
I think politicians have to use common sense, and I like Eva on a personal level. Always got along well with Eva. I think she was a great ambassador for the city. I thought it was great for the city during the EU or the Brexit nonsense that was going on, to have an EU citizen, a new Scot, representing, being the face of the city. But I think even by her own admission, perhaps she should have thought much more carefully about how she was spending that allowance that they have. Because the Lord Provost, they do have to attend a number of civic functions. They have to be on display. They have to be on show. I have no concerns about them for having some element of clothing allowance. I think most people would have said that makes sense. But 23 pairs of shoes, X number of suits, so on and so forth, it clearly was excessive. So measures could be put in place. You could reduce the grant. You could reduce the allowance. You could scrap it altogether. I just think we want our best people to be on show in our city, and so really if you're an elected politician, in this case a councillor, you should just be able to use your judgment in a wiser way.
Do you think it would be better if there were more scrutiny over expenses?
Look, I think we shouldn't fear scrutiny. I'm as open. You could go onto my website right now and you'll see a list of my expenses. You could go to the Scottish Parliament website, it's very, very good. You could get a list of all the expenses that we claim for and so on and so forth. So we should have nothing to hide from scrutiny. It's public money at the end of the day. And if we're using it in the right way, which 99% of the politicians, maybe slightly less, are using, I think, in absolutely the correct way, then they shouldn't have anything to fear from scrutiny. So if part of the answer to your first question is there should be more scrutiny on it, then I'd be all in favour of that.
We'll just finish up, Humza. You've had a number of ministerial roles. Your current Justice Secretary role probably is your most challenging that you've had to deal with. Is there any moment during that role that you're particularly proud of over the last 2 years?
No, that's a really great question. There's a lot of things that I'm really proud of that we've done in the justice system. When we passed a piece of legislation called the Vulnerable Witness Bill, which is a hugely important piece of legislation that will, for the first time, put it in statute that the presumption should be children shouldn't have to go into a courtroom and can pre-record their evidence as opposed to being in a court trial. But if I'm being honest with you, I think the things that we're going to do, and we're going to be looking at, will be some of the proudest things that I'm able to step back and say I've done as Justice Secretary. So, for example, I've made a real commitment and a promise to those people that have been survivors of rape and sexual offences that, I just think the justice system is not doing enough in a compassionate way to look after them and provide them with a real sense of justice. So I think some of the changes that I'm envisaging for reform of rape and sexual offences law and how we treat those survivors, I think will be in amongst some of the proudest things. If I can get those over the line, that'd be the challenge. So lots that I'm proud of, but certainly I would hope the stuff that I'm the most proud of is still to come.